My best friend tried to sabotage my marriage, and I don't know why. So I, 29, met my best friend Sarah, 29, and my husband, 31, when I was 11. I had just moved to a new country with my family, and my now sister-in-law introduced me to Sarah. Now that we're adults, we share some friends, but we each also have different groups we do different things with. Usually, I work in the office from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., and I have a 30-minute break that I use to have my second breakfast. Sometimes I go to my husband's office, it's a 5-minute walk, or to a cafe near my job. Occasionally, I have to work outside of my office or travel to another city. Every now and then, I mention to Sarah in casual conversation if I have to travel for work during the week. Last week, I had to travel for work on Wednesday. However, Tuesday night there was a red alert about the weather for the next day, so my work event was cancelled and I stayed home with my 2-year-old. My husband went out at 6 a.m. to make sure his business was closed and to put up some flood protection. By 7:30 a.m., he was back home making breakfast. It didn't start raining until 1 p.m. At 3 p.m., Sarah sent me a message asking if I was already home because it was flooding where I was supposed to be traveling. I just texted back, "Home safe." We literally didn't go out again until Friday. On Saturday, Sarah and I went to the same gym class. She told me we needed to talk in private, so we went to my car. She then told me that on Wednesday she saw my husband with a woman, and they were making out while my child was in the car. I was frozen for a moment, but then I remembered that I had been working from home with my husband and my baby for those 2 days. I realized she was lying, but I didn't understand why. I asked her 3 times if she was sure it was that Wednesday, and she confirmed it all 3 times. I asked her about the time, and she said around 11 a.m. I asked if it was during the red alert, and she said yes. I asked if she was 100% sure, and she launched into a detailed description of my husband making out with a gorgeous Barbie look-alike blonde in his car, in front of our child, near his office, during the red alert, meaning he was both cheating and putting our son at risk. I told her my work event had been cancelled because of the red alert and that we were both home the entire time it was in effect. She tried to say she got confused with the days, but she had already confirmed it 3 times. I told her to leave, and she ran off. I went home and did the whole betrayed spouse search. There was no hidden phone. I have access to all the passwords for every device in our house, not because of a lack of trust, but because I help manage part of his business and he's terrible with passwords. I even checked for hidden emails. The only thing he was hiding was a paranormal podcast he listens to sometimes. That night, I told my husband what had happened. He denied ever cheating, and even more strongly denied ever disrespecting his own son in that way. I believe him 100%. There was no change in his behavior or routine. He handed over his phone immediately, and when I told him I had already checked everything in the house, he told me to check his car as well. We decided to call Sarah together. She picked up on the 3rd call and was crying. I told her to just tell me why she lied. She insisted she wasn't lying but then said she had confused it with Monday. I pointed out that on Monday our son was in daycare, and we had breakfast together during my break. I asked her what time my husband supposedly picked up our son from daycare, went to meet this woman, made out in front of our child, returned him to daycare, and then still had breakfast with me. She cried even more and said she didn't know. At that point, my husband told her to cut the nonsense and have at least a bit of decency and tell us the truth. She said she was sorry, hung up, and then had the audacity to block both of us. I told our mutual friends what had happened. Everyone is angry and confused. No one can explain her behavior. She isn't answering calls, but she did send a message saying she was sick. Some friends confronted her about lying, and she blocked them too. Someone even contacted her mother, who is just as shocked. Nobody understands what's going on. At first, I thought maybe she had a crush on my husband. But he never liked her that much, so he didn't pay attention to her. She isn't even added on his social media because he never liked her much, neither when she was his sister's friend nor when she became my friend. They barely interact unless necessary. A crush big enough to try to destroy a family seemed extreme, even for that. I do know that she sometimes gossips too much or talks about things she shouldn't, but I never imagined it would escalate to something like this. She was there for me during some of the hardest moments of my life, and I supported her when she needed me. She was one of the first people I told about my wedding and my pregnancy. I have loved this girl since we were children. I just don't understand, and she is not talking to anyone. Final update, I finally got the truth, and it was far more ridiculous than I ever imagined. Sarah's mother invited me to her house for a conversation with Sarah and suggested I bring a friend as a buffer. I went because I needed closure. Sarah apologized repeatedly, but I had to practically interrogate her to get a real explanation. She lied because she was angry that I missed our girls' trip, a group of 5 of us, for the 2nd time, Once because I had a 2-month-old baby, and this year because I had to work during August, which was the only month everyone else was available. I had traded my vacation time for December plus extra days owed to me, so I will be out of the country from December to January 10th. That means I will miss her birthday in December and other winter activities in January. Her reasoning was that if I believed my husband had cheated, she was sure I would leave him. However, she assumed he wouldn't allow me to take our son abroad for an extended period, so I would be forced to stay, but would still be able to travel during my husband's custody time. In other words, she was willing to destroy my family just so I would be more available for trips and events. She was being incredibly selfish and mean over a missed trip and a birthday. She thought it was acceptable to break up my son's family just so she could have all her friends' attention. I told her to never contact me again and to avoid me completely. My friends know not to invite me to events if she will be there, but honestly, everyone is so upset with her that she is the one no longer being invited. This has been incredibly painful. I would have been willing to forgive and work through things if she had been struggling with mental health issues or substance abuse. I even sent her mother recommendations for mental health professionals earlier in the week. But this? This was just cruelty and selfishness, almost 20 years of friendship gone. I treat my closest friends like family because, aside from part of my husband's family, I only have my sister in this country. I make time for them, support them, and help them whenever I can. I truly believed she wanted the best for me, just as I wanted the best for her. Lesson learned, I guess.